There we go. So the reason we're here, extend the unextended in Microsoft Teams. So we already know, I hope you already know this because this is a more advanced session. So we already know that we are able to build tabs in Teams, of course, the iframe part in Teams. We're also aware that we can build chatbots in Teams. We're aware that we can build connectors in Teams. We're aware that we can build activity feed integrations in Teams. We can do outgoing webhooks. We can do calling and meeting integrations. But yeah, all that we're not going to handle today. We're going to talk today about message extensions, or as they used to be known, compose extensions. So keep that in mind if you're building this. Not all documentation still refers to the new one, even the manifest. So something in code has to be backwards compatible. So in code, you will still find the word compose extension. So remember that one. It's not always been message extensions. So first things first, location, location, location. It's not only important in selling houses, but also in Microsoft Teams. As you know, messaging extensions, or as you don't know, maybe we can have them. We can build them to extend certain points in Teams. One of them is, as you can see here below, with the 3 dots. So we can add our own custom icon here with our own custom functionality, or we can even say more actions, so we can build something in here. So that's the location. So if you build a tab or a bot, yeah, that's also, it's very hard to find sometimes, or yeah, people have to know how to add a tab or how to talk to your bot or how to mention your bot, or even if you do an outgoing webhook, then yeah, that's even you have to configure stuff, and it's not that easy to find. Well, messaging extensions, those are the ones that are easiest to find. So the problem with that as well is, yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. So don't overcrowd these locations. I know it looks cool that you can build stuff there on those locations. Yeah, but don't put in 10 or 20 or 30 apps, because yeah, then you will overcrowd the location and people will have no idea anymore what's in their Teams. It's already getting overcrowded Teams with all the buttons and things you can do in there. But yeah, if you add more, then yeah, it's going to be harder and harder for people to find stuff. And as you are, I'm also aware, an extension can also be found through the command bar. But yeah, let's touch that a little bit later, because I find that very difficult to do. So extensions, they're based on the bot framework. So we do have to do the same setup as building a bot for Teams. So it's all, yeah, same authentication mechanisms, same JSON schemas, but yeah, because it's the same setup as building a bot for Teams, it's also not that simple to get started. You need to know, you need to do some tunneling with ngrok. You need to set up a bot framework registration. So yeah, there is some setup involved. We're also not going to touch base on that one. If you have any questions on how to set up your Teams environment to start developing, then there's a lot of documentation from Microsoft to get you started on that one. And the cool thing is one extension. So we're building a single extension, but we can hold up to 10 different commands. Now, what are those commands? We can have 2 types of commands. We can have a search-based command or an action-based command. Yeah, like the word says, one is based on search and the other does something. It's an action. So let's get started with the first one. It's a search-based command. And I added a slide or a picture of the manifest. So you know, if you're building something in Teams, you have to create a manifest. So it's a little JSON file that tells Teams. We upload that one to the tenant, and it tells Teams, okay, this is the thing that I'm building. It's separate from your code, so there's no code involved. It just tells Teams, okay, Teams, this is what I'm building. And in this case, we're building a message extension, or like I said, a compose extension. Now, as you can see here, it starts with bot ID. So that's already a dead giveaway that, yeah, it's based on the bot framework. We have to build a bot first and use that ID to get started with our messaging extension. Then the can update configuration, we'll get to that later, but that does mean that you can, yeah, if you can add a settings page to your messaging extension if you want to. Now, these are the 2 commands I was telling you about, so we can have 10 of those. And one of them, or the first one we're touching, is a search command. You can see that by the type, it says query here. So query means this is a search-based action. Okay, we give it an ID, a description, a title. That's normal. I think it doesn't matter what you build in whatever language. It's whatever you build, it always needs an ID and a description and a title. The initial run, because we're doing a search query, well, of course, yeah, do you want the search query to already trigger when somebody opens it up? Yes, no, depending on, yeah, what's your business case. But yeah, in this case, I put it to false, but you can also start an initial query from the beginning, in the beginning. And of course, your context, that's the locations that I was talking about. So where do you want that to show up? Do we want that in a message compose, so at the bottom and at the left, at the right part, or do we want it in the command box? And then, of course, we can add some parameters. Those parameters is, if you go to here, as you can see here, so enter your search key query words. This is what I typed in here as a description. And of course, we need a title and a name as well, but we can add more, we can find that stuff here. Now, this is our compose. So as you can see here, we had compose and command box. Compose, you get like this little in the box at the top, you can find your app and you can use that one. Or if you click the three little buttons, then you're going to get a screen like this that opens up where you can enter your search query. I'll show that in a minute, but I think you already seen that with other default first-party Microsoft apps that are also messaging extensions. And then in the command box, so you can select your app and then you can do a search query. I'm not a fan of this one because I haven't met the user which uses the command box, a normal user, not an IT user like us or a developer like us, of course. But I haven't met one who uses the command box to use a search action in a message extension. So it's not that, you can do it, but the added value, I'm not sure of it. So we can add one command, like I told, but we can go up to 10 commands. And if you add more commands, you're just going to get little tabs. So search 1, search 2, you can have 10 search tabs next to each other. Could be if your business case says, okay, we need to query some kind of database or some backend system, and we have another use case that says, okay, query another backend system. Excuse me. Then we can add multiple tabs to do several searches in several backend systems. Now, let me show you. It's much easier if I show you. This is, of course, a dev session. So as you can see, I'm already running my ng-rock. So we're having a tunnel. I'm getting a public URL that goes to my local host. Now this one, as you can see, localhost 3000, that's for my Visual Studio Code. And I'm getting the same one. So this is just without the 2, it's going to my local host, but for my Visual Studio. So as you probably know by now, you can do message extensions in Visual Studio Code or in Visual Studio, Node or C#, whatever is your poison, you can use it. Now, let's go to our message extension. So the simple first one is a search, meaning if this is our app, so I've installed our app. If I click here, as you can see, this is where the screenshot came from. We can add our search query here, and we can add, I don't know, let's search for Outlook, and we can find some results. Normally, no, we're not gonna find any results because, of course, my code is not running. So let's start it up. Then I can first show you the end result, and then we can see how do we do it. So do we have, yep, there we go. We're running. Don't have to do the entire query again. Every time you type, I think from the 3rd letter, we start a query. So we're hitting our code in the backend. We can see that because we have a breakpoint, and we can also see that to our ng-rock. As you can see, the bad gateway, that's because my Visual Studio was not running. So we have an OK, our code came back, we searched for some results, we click on it, and of course, there's now a bug in Teams, meaning your search query will not add to a conversation, meaning you have to first type something, and then we can search something. So let's do Outlook again. And the result, let me clear my breakpoints. It makes it a little bit easier. So what's new in Outlook? We've selected one. As you can see, we already had 2 steps. Why do you have 2 steps? Of course, one is a search query, and one is you have to tell Teams what it has to put in here. So which kind of card does it have to put in here? Now, what's the added value of this search extension? Let's say, for instance, you have, I don't know, a database full of customers. Well, it could be easy. Okay, we're talking about customer number X. Then, which customer do you mean? We do a search query on our customer database, and we can find it, and we can immediately paste it here. What am I doing? I'm actually doing a Bing query for whatever word that's typed in or phrase that's typed in, and I return that result. So what's new in Outlook for Windows? Apparently, that's something you can find on Bing. Let's open it up in the browser. As you can see, it comes from support@microsoft.com, so it just added. We can also do it in here. So if we go to more actions, we can also do a search query if we want to, but that's for later on. Now, how do we build such a thing? So first things first, let's go to our manifest. We already seen that. So our first search command is this one. So we have it in the compose and the command box. Oh yeah, I promised that one. I was going to show you the command box. So if you go to the command box, then you have to add mention. I didn't know this either. I had to look it up. That's why I don't think anybody uses it. So if you use search for your app, you can add mention your app, and then you're automatically guided to the extension. So we have 2 search extensions and 3 action based. That's for later. So I'll do my first one. I do a search, and then I can type my search query. So if I type Outlook, then again, we're going to go to our code. And here we can have what's new in Outlook 2019 once more, and then we can find that. So this is returned to our code, and then we have that here. But yeah, I'm not sure what you're going to do with this, because this is not going to be put into some kind of conversation. So yeah, we can open it up in the browser, but that's about it. So we can copy it as well, but yeah, I'm not sure about the use case for this one. It's possible, but yeah, if you find anybody who uses it like this, then let me know. Now, so we have our search query. So this is our manifest. Where was our manifest? There we go. This is our manifest. So link to our bot ID. We have a bot ID, and then we go in. So the first thing we do with our bot, as you can see here, so we override this method here on Teams messaging extension. So here it's called a messaging extension, not a compose extension, or not. So again, another word. So messaging extension query. So this means when the query comes in. So the moment I type something in here, the wrong Teams is this one. Let's do again Outlook. Then we enter in our code. So what do we get? Well, we get our turn context. Of course, every bot gets a turn context. So that way you know what context we're in, because yeah, who's talking to us and who's what's the activity. For this case, it's invoke. So if you normally do a chat against a normal bot, you're going to get a message activity, of course, but this is an invoke because we invoke something. And what do we get from that one? Well, of course, we get our text. So I typed in Outlook. What do? I just do a custom search client. So this goes to the Bing search API with my API key, of course. Don't copy paste my API key. And then a custom config ID and results, because yeah, we need to do the query. So here we do the actual query. These are all the results I get back. And for each result, we do an attachment. So we do our list of results, and we add those to Teams. Meaning if we do F5 here, of course, this is not going to work. Why? Because within this search query, you're going to have 5 seconds to respond. Teams is going to give you 5 seconds to respond. Yeah, if I'm debugging my code, yeah, it takes usually longer than 5 seconds. But yeah, doesn't mean your code is wrong. It's just Teams that say, okay, it says, okay, just to make sure that people have a good user experience, within 5 seconds you have to respond. So if we do it again and I debug a little bit faster, there we go. Then we're going to get our list of results back. And then the moment we select one, Teams is going to call our code once more, as you already saw. And this one is the on Teams messaging extension selected item. So this one will tell you, okay, somebody has selected that item from the list you sent. So we need to find which item. The cool thing is, okay, we do, as you can see here, we're going to give all those results as an attachment. And here we can get the same thing back. So this is a custom object of mine, an article. We have a title, a snippet, a link, and an image URL. And Teams, we can do smart enough. So the query to object with my custom object, with my custom class, and we can easily find which one I have selected. Now that I have that one that I have selected, I want to make it a little bit bigger, of course. I don't want that little small card to show up. No, I want to have a bigger card. So I'm creating a new thumbnail card with my title and my snippet and my button that links to the URL, of course. Well, we can also add some images if we want, and then we return that because this is a task. So we return a new messaging extension response. And with that messaging extension response, this is the thing we're going to get back into our conversation. So as you can see here, we get something cooler back, a little bit bigger. You can use other types of cards. There are also other types of cards, but I've chosen a thumbnail card here. So search extensions. Cool thing, if you want to search in some kind of backend database, always fun. Now let's get back to our presentation. Swap, there we go. We also have action-based commands. Now the action-based commands, as the word says, you can have some actions linked to it. Now, yeah, actually action-based, it's a group name for different solutions. So there's all kinds of different solutions, but they all look and feel the same a little bit. So they just grouped it together as action based. But in the end, they're all based on a pop-up, or the official name is a model dialog, but actually they're all based on a pop-up. It's just what gets rendered in the pop-up and how difficult is it to build one. So we have that different solutions. We have three kinds of flavors actually. We can have a static list of parameters, we can have an adaptive card, or we can have an embedded web view. The order here is important because the top one, static list of parameters, is the simplest one to build. Actually, pretty fast build. Not that much of effort. And the embedded web view, then you have, but you also, with the static list, you have not that much, you cannot choose the functionality that much. You're stuck with that, the framework that Microsoft gives you, that Teams gives you. And with the embedded web view, you just get an iframe and you're master of everything, do whatever you want, but of course, a little bit harder to build. So static action-based extensions. So we just say in the manifest, this is my extension. I wanted, as you can see, we'll go a little bit deeper in there in as well, a little bit farther. But these are my parameters, and I want those and those and those fields, and render it for me. So you get a quick result. You just type in the JSON, and there's your form. Within 5 minutes, you have a form. That, on the other hand, there's also a limited set of input fields. Limited. Most of the time, this is enough. So you get a text and a text area, a number, a date. So the most default variables are there to get input. But you're limited to those. And the only thing we need to implement actually is a save functionality. So nothing else, nothing more. We don't need to render the form. We don't need to look at how it's formed, how the CSS looks. Nothing to worry about. Quick result, but we need to implement the save functionality. So what do we do with the result? Next up is the embedded web view. So that's the hardest one. So you have complete control. But it's also not that simple to build. And there's two ways to trigger it. Either we do as you can see here, fetch task, if we put that one to true or to false. Fetch task is like the word says, do I need to fetch the task that I need to do? So if you put it to true, then Teams will just go to your code and say, okay, somebody triggered this action, what do I need to do? So cool thing on the one hand, because if you have a URL that changes a lot, or there's logic in the thing that has to open, then of course, it's easier to do it in code. If there's no logic in there, just open this page or go to this URL. Then you can say, no, don't need to do fetch task. Just open something up. This is the title of the page. This is the width, the height, and the URL. So it's all as well based on iframes and pop-ups and model dialogues, as I already mentioned. And then, of course, somewhere in the middle in between is an adaptive card. It's a little bit easier to create. It's also, I wouldn't give that to an end user, of course, the adaptive card. Because there are some helper sites that help you create adaptive cards, but one is available in Teams, the other one is available in Bot Framework. There's always a small difference between them and between the versions. Teams is always running a little bit behind, so you cannot use the latest version. So it's always a little bit to test a lot with this one. And it uses the same logic as the embedded web view. But of course, you can also do a preview for the user. As you can see, this is a preview. So something opens up and this is going to be your adaptive card. The user can say, okay, this is the correct card that I want, or do I want to edit the card or just send it? So it's somewhere in the middle between full control and no control at all. So let's just do demos much better. So if I go to Teams, as you can see here, I have my 3 flavors. So I can order a Saturday lunch, I can do it with a fetch task, or I can do it without a fetch task. If you want to access it through this way, it's this little plus button. It's not that located that perfectly because people have to know it. So you have to give some training to find that plus button, but then you're going to get the same functionality. So if I order Saturday lunch with fetch, or order Saturday lunch with no fetch. If we go to look at the manifest, there's my manifest. Then this is our second search command. So that was the previous one. Here we have the 3-1. So we have the order Saturday lunch on Saturday. This is a normal form. We give the description, title. It's of course type action, not type query like the other one. I hope everybody can see this. Let me put this a little bit bigger. So type action. Where do you want to show it? Command box, message and compose, of course. Fetch task, no, because you don't need to call our code. No, because we're already giving you the fields. So we have some parameters. name, enter your name, enter a choice, enter a date, and we're good to go. And we have some other as well. So if we go to Teams, I'll show you the functionality first. So let's use this one, order Saturday lunch. See, I didn't program anything. I just put in the JSON. We have our title field, our choice field with our sandwiches, so BLT, cheese or ham, and we even have a cool date field, so I can pick the day, and we're good to go. So my name is Rick, and we have a form within 2 seconds. So just put it in the manifest, and you have a form. But of course, yeah, if the use case states that this has to be red or blue, or this has to look a little bit different, or you need some kind of crazy field, then yeah, forget about it. Then you're building it yourself. But in most cases, this is enough if you want to do a simple form. And then we, of course, need to validate and save our data. So whatever is behind this submit button is something that we have to program. So when I click the submit button, we're going to get to an async task. So on Teams messaging extension, so submit action. So we submitted this action. And then, of course, because we are getting a lot of different actions, we're going to get a command ID. So this is order lunch on Saturday. As you can see here, I did that in my manifest. So this is the order lunch on Saturday. I can have, you need to define some differences, because if you're going to have 10 commands, and well, how are you going to differentiate between the lot of them? So if I go back to, where was I? Debugging, there we go. So simple one, we're just going to save our stuff here, and then we can either return a task module or we can return a hero card. So a task module is again an iframe or a pop-up or whatever, an iframe or a model dialog with the information we want to do. So this is going to be a task module. We'll just, normally you would do a save here. So this time I don't need to, but I save my information. So if we go further, then you can see, oh, that's because I'm too slow. Let's try that one again. So up this one, we order our Saturday lunch. I'm Rick. Pick a date, pick anything. There we go. Thanks for your feedback. Now I have a thank you page that I completely customized. If you don't want to do that and you want to keep it real simple, then we can do it the other way around. So we can just say, okay, return this one, create a card. Let's stop and restart. What does a create card response do? Well, we're going to return a hero card. So we're going to create a hero card. So a new hero card. We're going to send that back. Also a possibility. That's the freedom you have with Teams. You can also cherry pick the things that you want. So once we're up and running, let's do the same thing again. Order Saturday lunch. Name, an option, and a date. There we go. Submit. And now we're gonna go. See, this is our hero card. So now I get a hero card in my conversation. So also nice if you want people, depending on the use case, do you want to show a screen that says thank you, or do you want people to be able to, to post something to the conversation? Always depending on the use case. Now, excuse me. Going back, we also have our fetch task. So if I go to my manifest, this one was the easy one. Let's do it a little bit harder. We can do the fetch or the no fetch. Actually, it doesn't matter. Depending on the use case, it's implemented in the same way. This one goes to, I have just a page running here, and this one goes to my code that's going to tell me, okay, you have to go to this page. So if I click on my app, there we go. Let's do the with fetch. With the no fetch. That's the simplest one. So just show this URL. There we go. Here are my lunch options. So just a normal screen somewhere that you create, just a normal web page. Or we can go to the this one. We can go to the with fetch, and then it's gonna get, as you can see, it takes a little bit longer. Why? Because on message extension fetch task. So now it's going to get my fetch task. We're not going to go to this one yet, but we can. This is, for instance, the fetch task with an adaptive card. So this way, we're going to show a preview of the adaptive card. How did we do that? This is all in comment. There we go. So messaging extension. So this is an action response, and we're doing an action. So we're giving an action response, a messaging extension result, and we're going to do an adaptive card. And the cool thing about this one is this is a preview. So we're first going to send back the preview. So, hey user, so this is the preview of the card. So it's going to look like this. And we have an open button and some text. We can say, okay, I want to edit it. Or yeah, okay, I didn't implement an edit form, but we can do edit, or we can just send it. And then if we do send it, what this team is going to do again is going to call our code, as you can see, a bot message preview. So we just did a bot message preview, and we're going to send that one. So this one, the other one is preview, and here we're going to just say, okay, this is the actual card with the actual data, and just send that one to the conversation. So as you can see here, it's in the conversation now. So this is the adaptive card that I first previewed. We could also, we'll need to do the adaptive card as well, because I have a lot of in comment. Where's my comments? There we go. There we go. So we can also, this is an adaptive card. So let's put this in comment, or just let it be. But we can also say, okay, let's return an adaptive card at once. We don't need to respond with a preview. We can just say, okay, respond an adaptive card at once. Let me put this in comment, otherwise we're going to get errors, of course. And then reload. Come on. Okay, there we go. Good to go. So same action with a fetch. Again, loading to get our results back. And now we're going to just get our adaptive card as one. As you can see here, this is not a preview. So you can choose to do a preview. It's a functionality of the bot framework. We don't want to do the preview. We're just going to show an adaptive card. So this would be my logic. And then I can say, I can have buttons. See, I can open other pages, stuff like that. So we can do a lot. Just send back an adaptive card. You don't need to paste an adaptive card in the conversation. You can just use the adaptive card to send that back and show that on screen. Of course, this is a simple adaptive card. If you can make it as difficult as you want with adaptive cards. The other one we have, so let's uncomment this one now. And let's do this one. Oh. And this is just a task module. So here we're just going to show you an iframe. So an embedded web view is this, an iframe that says, okay, here is the page. And then we can make it a little bit difficult if you already, yeah, you can already getting tokens and access tokens, meaning we can also authenticate if you want to. So my page is running again. Where's my, I'm always taking the wrong teams. Fetch task. Getting the URL. Here we go. So now we're just gonna say, okay, this is my page and this is my embedded web view. You just get a web page, an entire web view, and just put in whatever you want, make it as difficult as you want, an entire logic. Now, as you just saw, what if we need to log in, of course, because yeah, we're in this web page, but yeah, I cannot show a pop-up in a pop-up. So if I would go to authenticate now, then you're gonna have a pop-up in a pop-up, and that's just weird. And it's not always working as well. So because Microsoft, the login page of Microsoft cannot always be iframe and stuff like that. So it's not that difficult. Well, how do we do that? Let's call it again. You might have seen it already because I'm already logged in, of course. Let's do a fetch task. Let's go here. So we're going to check if we're logged in. If we're not logged in, so I'll fake a one that I'm not logged in. So if I'm not logged in, I'm going to show. So we're going to link model dialogues or actions next to each other or after each other. So this is the first one. Okay, somebody's not logged in. Let's let them log in. So show them a login card. If we do it a little bit faster, of course. There we go. So just on this one. See, now I get my first card, so I need to sign in. I sign in, I get my pop-up, I'm signed in, I have my token, and now we're going to show the second one. So I was actually already showing two at the same time, but yeah, because I already was logged in, you didn't notice that because of course caching and stuff like that, cookies, I already have my token. So with that token, yeah, I could not log in. So we can actually build an entire logic flow with these actions, because we can link them next to each other. So if I pick something here, because this is just a web page, if I pick something here, we can go back and we can go forth. As you can see here, I can even use feedback, and I can take pictures, and I can do whatever I want in here. So we can do a lot of stuff. Let's go back. I can access my location. What's here? You see, I'm in Belgium now. So we can do a lot of stuff. And of course, we can authenticate people, meaning that, okay, this thing knows that I'm Rick and that I'm logged in and that where I'm from, and whatever information you can find in the Microsoft Graph, or in any other Microsoft system or SharePoint, whatever you want. But you can log in and you can find information about the user, and we can link things together, making it pretty cool. Now, there's one thing I haven't talked about, which is actually it has nothing to do with. Yeah, it falls under the same category as messaging extensions, but actually it's called a link unfurling. So it's message handling. It's a separate part in our messaging extensions. So it's not compose extension, but yeah, it falls under the same category. So I don't know if you ever been to YouTube or you add something from YouTube, then you see the video, and it's called link unfurling. So you have a normal link, and then of course you can do take that link and make it a little bit cleaner. Let's see if normally it should work with YouTube. So if I paste something, let's find a YouTube video there. YouTube Teams Fest should be one here. There we go. Let's take this one. So if I put it in here, then as you can see, what does Teams do? Well, it's something that's called link unfurling. Instead of pasting the stupid link that nobody knows what's going on, it goes to YouTube and it says, okay, or that YouTube page, and in that YouTube HTML, excuse me, in that YouTube HTML, there's described, okay, this is the title, and this is the snapshot of the video, this is the description, this is the length. So it's called link unfurling. Well, we can do that for the same as our own code. So if you have a company website that you want to do it, or because Teams doesn't do that for everything, but you want your own code, then we can say whatever you do, if you do it with this domain, then call my code. So we just say message handler, type link, value domain. So if I type something with the domain in here, I don't know, HTTPS domain / Teamsfest, and I type it, see, you're referencing our domain. Let's do it again. But then let me show you how you do it, because of course you need to tell your bot that you have to do it. And that's with this one, the on Teams app-based link query async. Yeah, I know. So as you can see, I'm implementing almost every extension or override method there is with Teams, and I have a lot of methods. So you can override a lot. And the one thing is, you can do a lot, but it's also not that, not making it simple anymore. So the moment we do that query in Teams, so HTTPS and then my domain / Teamsfest or whatever you want, then normally my code should come in, and then we're gonna get, okay, Teams, your this query has been called, so this URL has been called. We do some logic. I just say, okay, you're referencing our domain, and this is the image. But as you can see here, that's why they're linked together. We also send back a messaging extension attachment and a messaging extension result. So yeah, it's not, and it also, see, a messaging extension response is also coming in. So it's using the same technology. It doesn't really fall under the same category as a messaging extension in the manifest, but it still uses the same backend code. So if we send that, then we can send an adaptive card, or you can, if you're a little bit good at creating cards, then you can create the same thing as you do, because you can just duplicate that one. If you have a video or an image linked to every page, then you can do that. Now, it's not only for Visual Studio, of course, we can also do that with Visual Studio Code, because we also have tasks and extensions in here, so we can also do activity handlers. The extensions are almost always the same. So as you can see here, handle Teams messaging extension query, it's always the same. It's the extension. That's a cool thing about the Teams team. They named the stuff the same. So the overrides, they named them the same in Node as in C#. So once you know one, you know them both, because it's handle Teams messaging extension select item. As you can see in C#, what was it? It was almost the same. Messaging select item. Where was the select item? This was preview on Teams. Messaging extension submit action. Where was the select item? Configure query. Here, select on Teams messaging extension select item async, and in Visual Studio Code handle Teams messaging select item. So it's all similar. So you know exactly what you're doing. So it doesn't matter if you're doing Node or C#. It works for both of them. It's similar stuff. So yeah, that's the cool thing about the Teams team. They really thought this one through. And the one thing that I messed up, of course, is the extension configuration query. So let's do that real quick. You can also reconfigure your extension if you want to. Let me just search where's is it here? Oh. Yeah, as you can see here, if you right click on the little icon, then you can click on, then you can say, okay, configure it. That was a true or false, I said. And once this settings thing is running, because yeah, it needs to get the URL because yeah, it's a link. So what's the URL behind that one? Yeah, that's what you have to say in your, again, in an override method. So you have to tell the moment somebody right clicks on that icon, Teams is already calling your backend code and say, okay, this is the extension. What's the URL I have to go to? So yeah, now it's going to be empty. But if I am really fast, see this is running and I debug my code really fast, then I have a link and then I can open up any scene. So this is any page I want to show. So what you would like to search, and you can put some settings in there, and then yeah, could be a setting depending on your search or your action. So you can even do settings, but yeah, I'm not sure once more again. So you need to save that of course as well, but I'm not sure again if you if you're going to explain to your users that there's a little setting button here. Yeah, they can find it. They're not going to find that one without you explaining them. So back to the slides. I think I have one slide left, and then we can go to the questions. There we go. So this was a demo, and this is the end slide, of course. My name was Rick. That's my blog, my GitHub, Twitter. Yeah, send me an email if you have questions. I work for Advantive. I'm an MVP. I'm in the BWIC board. We're doing an event at the 24th of October for the Collab Days, Belgium and the Netherlands and Luxembourg. So if you're interested in more sessions about Microsoft 365, then I urge you to register. And I also written a book on Pro Teams development. So if you want to know more about Teams development or what I told you today, but then more in depth and with more a little bit on guide solutions, then yeah, you can always buy my book. And then last slide, of course, rate my session. Even if you thought it was crap, just say, okay, this guy sucks, then you can put that in there. No problem, I can take it. And I hope you had a great session, and I hope you have a great the rest of the Teams Fest. I already had a few sessions that I watched, and there was some good sessions between them. So I hope you're gonna have a great day today, and then we'll see if there are any questions.